Hello everybody, welcome back to Piano Practice Partner. I hope you enjoyed the last lesson where we were looking at the A minor 251, and then in the subsequent practice along session we were just drilling some of those inversions and variations to give us more to play with. There's been quite a few new subscribers, which is really exciting. Hello everyone. So just to break down really quickly how currently the channel works, I'm learning the piano, breaking down everything I'm sort of digesting and practicing, and then handing it back over to you lot for you to learn from. So if I understand it, hopefully you understand it. Every other week there's a different video. So the first week will be a lesson. We're breaking down the technical approach to something we're learning, whether it be chords or a scale or a song. Then the following week is a practice along session where we take the material we learned in the lesson and put it into a practice context. So I will usually set up the technical exercise, take this timer here, set it to however long, hit the timer. I'll then mute my own keyboard so that you're not being distracted, but it means we have some accountability. So say that we're doing this for 5 minutes, we might be doing a C major scale, practicing, I'd be muted, and afterwards we'll sort of talk about what we found, things to look out for in the future, and then move on to the next exercise and the next exercise until we're done. And you can go back and do those as many times as you want to keep your practice up. Today is not a practice along, today is a lesson. So we are going to be looking at the 251 again, and we're going to be putting it into a song. Today, we're going to be learning this song called Autumn Leaves. Now, Autumn Leaves is what's known as a jazz standard. So in the jazz world, in the jazz repertoire, there are a collection of songs known as standards, and most jazz musicians will know them. What's really exciting about the standard is basically, take any song you love. Say every artist in that genre knew that song, and at any point, they could play it. Well, they'd all play it differently. They'd all put their own interpretation and style and flavour and essence onto that song. And that's what jazz standards are. They're a collection of these songs that all jazz musicians will know or know of. And when they play them, they'll play them how they want to. So it's really exciting as a listener because we could listen to 100 different versions of Autumn Leaves from different artists and they'd all be different. And it's really cool to hear how people approach the same material. And we can learn a lot from that artistically and moving forward. And also about ourselves. What do we want to learn? What do we want to play? How do we want to sort of make music? But we're going to be looking at this today in its most basic form as we are still at the very beginning of our journey. We're about 4 months in. The first thing you'll notice are these scary looking letters with these symbols. So what do they mean? Well, we can intuit that the letters are the corresponding chords. So D would probably be our D chord. And this little minus sign means that it's a D minor rather than D major. So if it's got a little dash like that, a little minor sign, it's a minor chord. If it doesn't, so like the G there, then it will be the G major, but it's got a little 7. So what do we think the 7 could mean? That's right, it's adding a 7th to the chord. So if it says G7, you'd be wanting the 7th chord. So the C here doesn't have a minor next to it and has a 7. But what does the little triangle mean? Well, to my understanding, the triangle just means it's a 7th chord, a major 7th chord. So I don't know why it's written out from the music I've been learning, a triangle and a 7th, because to my brain, that means the same thing. It's a major 7th chord with a 7th, so you're just saying the same thing twice. And then if we take that logic and put it to F, it's the F7 chord. Okay, so let's just focus on this top line. We've got the D minor 7, the G7, the C7, and then the F7. Now, what do these chords look like? We've been learning the 251 in C major and in A minor. And if we look here, D minor, so that's the minor 2, the G, the 5, and then the 1. So this is just the 251 of C major. So rather than it being something new and scary to learn, actually, we've been learning this already. And we're just adding an F7 on the end. Simple. Already we know most of the songs. We're just playing the 251 in C. So D minor with a 7th, G7, C7 as our 251, and then this F major 7. If you've been watching these lessons for a little while, you'll know what I'm going to say. We're going to look at inversions because we know the inversions for this to make it easier. There's one inversion we can do for the 251 in C, or we can do Great. So now let's look at this chord, this F major 7, because we want to try and find a nice inversion here so that we can, from whatever position, from the C, can then go to the F quite easily without jumping up. So if this is our primary, do you remember how we make our inversions? We can take the bass note and we can shift everything up and put it in the top. So we'll take that thumb and we'll replace. That's one version. And then we can do the same again. We can shift everything up. So that's maybe good, but obviously we're a bit high up. We're an octave further up than we need to be. So let's take that position, that's C, E, F, and A, and shift it down an octave. Great. So let's memorize this, because I think we can go. And when we do our C, there we go. That's great, because that feels really easy to my understanding that it's a repeating sequence. So there's our D minor 7. And to come down to our G7, remember when we did the practice on this, we moved the top 2 notes down, didn't we? And then to move to our C, we moved the bottom 2. Now to move to our F, we're just moving the top 2. That's cool, right? So top 2 move down, bottom 2 move down, top 2 move down. And that's the entire first line. Top 2 move down, bottom 2 move down, top 2 move down. So D minor 7, G7, C major 7, F major 7. Using our inversions, we've done our 2, 5, 1 in C with this additional F. Right, now let's look at the second line. So we've got this new symbol, this B with a circle with a little line through. And that is our half diminished chord. Remember when we learned this B chord? That's B major, B minor, and we're learning this B half diminished. So the circle with a line through means half diminished. So it's just what we've been playing already with the 7th. Then E7. We know what that is. With the 7th on top. And then what does this line mean again? Minor. So A minor 7. And then if you look here, the A doesn't have a minor sign on it. So it becomes A major 7. So what do we need to do to turn a major into or a minor into a major? It's all to do with the 3rd note. In a minor chord, it's a flattened 3rd. So we'll have to take the 3rd up half a step. So there's our A major 7. So we're just going from these last 2 chords. We're just raising this note up half a step. So altogether, that looks like B half diminished with a 7th, E major 7, A minor 7, A major 7, just by raising this 3rd. And again, does that feel familiar? I'm going to put this little red pen mark again. B half diminished 7, E7, A minor 7. So this is the 2-5-1 of A minor, which we were looking at last week. So it's just our 2-5-1 in A minor. And then we're adding this A major 7th on the end, which is a real simple move, which is changing 1 note. So that's nice and easy. So this should be quite simple for us. Cool. What am I going to say? We're about to do some inversions because we can move around up here, big jump. But these are all grouped quite nicely together. So is there an easier way? If you did the practice along last week, you'll know some of the inversions. So from the B half diminished here, we can just take this top note down half a step to come to this E7 chord, which leaves us free just to come down 1 little bit for the A minor 7 and the A7. I'll play that all again. And there are more inversions we can do, which we can look at later or in the practice along session next week. So let's play the first line and then the second line. So the first line, let's remember, it's the 2-5-1 of C for these 3 chords, plus this new F7 chord, followed by the 2-5-1 of A minor, followed by this A major 7 chord. So that sounds something a little bit like this, and I'll use some inversions that we're just talking about to make my life a little bit easier. There we go. So 2-5-1 of C with the F major 7, 2-5-1 of A minor with the A major 7 on the end. So they're the chords of Autumn Leaves. And the form changes, which we'll look at in a second, but the chords are essentially that, just in a different combination. So taking everything we've learned about 2-5-1s, inversions, I think what's really exciting about this process so far is getting to learn something and then immediately find a useful application of it. If I were to have sat down in my lesson and seen all these chords and gone, oh goodness, like how do I figure out how to play this? And probably would have been able to go, okay, D minor is there, and then the 7 is 7. No, it's there, because there's the 8th. It would have taken me some time just to figure out, not impossible, but knowing where my 7ths are because of the arpeggios that we were learning, but also knowing stuff like the 2-5-1s, being able to identify that this is a 2-5-1 of C makes it suddenly easier because I know what that is. So now it just becomes learning what that is. Great, so that's excellent. We've learned the bulk of the song. So the actual song, Autumn Leaves, has a melody that's played on top, which goes something like this. There are lyrics on top. If you want to go and look at several different versions of this song, you'll hear that melody and then they'll solo around it. It's really, really cool. Now, my skill set is definitely not at the level where we can do what's known as comping, where you take the chords and you play them amidst playing either the melody or a solo. So we're going to put the melody to one side for a second, but it's really useful to know it's there. What we can do instead, for now, once we get used to drilling these chords, and it should be fairly quick to get done, because if you've been following the lessons, we will have drilled the 2-5-1 in C and A minor. So it's just the addition of those new chords, as well as just getting used to playing them together. What we can do is we can take some of the other work we were doing in previous lessons about movement within a chord and give it some emotion. So use some dynamics and use some playing within the chord. So rather than just playing simple block chords, we can, before moving to the next chord, so that together sounds like. So that's one thing we can try. Instead of doing melody, we can break down the notes within the chord. The other thing as well, we've spoken about the use of inversions being easy for us to navigate the keyboard without jumping around, but about variety. So I was playing the same thing every time there. What happens if we come up to one of our other inversions? So this, as we know, is still the 2-5-1 of C, but just in a different inversion, right? So instead of here, we're going. And do you remember the other week we learned a new chord where we took this, we had 2 flattened notes. That would work within the sequence. It's very jazz. And the same for the second 2-5-1 in A minor. Instead of playing it here, what happens if we take it up to here? Very similar feeling as well, where between the B half diminished 7, we take the top 2 notes down to come to this E7 chord, and then the bottom 3 go down to come to this A minor 7, and then raising the note here. So these 3 say the same, but it's the C coming up to C7 to make it that A7. Make sense? So I'll play all of that 2-5-1 and A minor again in that new inversion. So now let's look at the structure of this song. So for the verse, we're going to repeat this twice. All right, verse here. And one other thing, I'm going to underline this A minor 7 because we're going to repeat this twice, but when we come down to the second time, we're going to stop on this chord. We're not going to go to the A major 7. We're going to stop on the A minor 7, so this chord. And I will very dreadfully hum the melody so we get a sense of what's happening. My apologies in advance. Da 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 da, ba da 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 da, ba da da da, ba da da da, ba da da da, ba da 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 da, ba da da da, ba da da da. Holding on this chord. So that's the verse, okay? Now, when we get to the chorus. So here is the chorus. Hopefully you can read that okay. Again, this may feel overwhelming to look at, all these symbols and letters. But if we just take this line by line, first line, B half diminished 7th, E major 7th, A minor 7. Let's just look at the line above. That's just the 2-5-1 in A minor again. Second line in the chorus, D minor 7th, G 7th, C major 7th, F major 7th. Let's look all the way up here. That's just our 2-5-1 in C major with the addition of the F again. And then the last 2 lines are just the 2-5-1 in A minor. So that's it. We've already played all the chords. Like I said, it's just a restructuring of the verse. Ultimately, in the song, there are a few more different variations on the chords, but for simplicity's sake, this is what we're going with for now. So if you know the song and you're like, wait a second, there's something missing here. We're just going a little bit basic for now, just while we're getting used to the thing. So I'll play all the way down the chorus, then I'll sing the melody badly again so we get some context, and I'll play it all the way through. So here we go. First line. Into the second line. Third line. And this is really, for anyone who knows this, the simplified version, because there's like a walk down thing, but we'll look at that in a future lesson. For now, this is what we're going to stick with. So I'm going to try and play this from the verse into the chorus once, just with the piano, me explaining what's going on, and then I'll try and sing the melody for some context on top of. So here we go, the verse, starting with the 2-5-1 in C major. And A minor, 2-5-1. Repeat. A minor, 2-5-1. Hold the chord into the chorus. Hold the chord. 2-5-1 is C. 2-5-1 in A minor. Hold and repeat. Last line. There we go. Start to finish, that's the song. Here it is with me singing the melody. Ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da. Repeat the verse. Ba-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da. Hold the chord. Chorus. Ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, 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 ba-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, ba-ba-da-da-da-da. there it is with a very shonkily sung melody over the top. But that's the song. So now we can work on all of that with our inversions in both the 251 and C major and the 251 and A minor. And then we can work some of that melody within chords while we're getting used to it. To put some of that emotion into it. Maybe add that funky chord in. So that's what we're going to be looking at, and we'll be breaking some of that down in the practice along session next week. Following on from this, in a future lesson, what's really exciting, like I said earlier, we're not good enough yet to be comping chords, but once we know the structure well enough and the melody well enough, what we can do is we can take the bass notes of the form, D, G, C, F, B, E, A, and use that as a structure to then So that's what we're going to be aiming towards in future lessons. But thank you so much. I hope that all made sense. Feel free to drop comments down below if anything was unclear, anything you're wanting to learn in the future, any of your wins of the week, so the things you're really proud of having achieved. It's good to pat ourselves on the back to keep ourselves motivated and encouraged. If you're enjoying the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. And I hope to see you all in the next practice along session next week. Take care, everyone.